Hi, this is HGUC, a show where I take a look at some Gunpla and see how authentic they are. This time, we are looking at the HGUC 12144 Zaku I. MS-05 Zaku I is the first mobile suit that the Principality of Zeong formally adopted and manufactured. While being called the Old Zaku at times, the Zaku one is not that much older than the Zaku II. And if you trace that development, you can say the Zaku II was developed in parallel with the Zaku one, just that the Zaku one, as the first military adaptation of mobile suits, it has a lot of reservations about the whole ordeal. So by the time the Principality of Zeong actually went into war with the Earth Federation, they are relegated to support duties, as the Zaku one was adopted based on logistics instead of battlefield performance, which Zeong really needs to close in the gaps of the logistic advantage that the Federation have. I'll be rating these kits based on saga, style, action, gimmick, and absence. Style is how much does the kit resemble its counterparts in anime, manga, games, or other media. And for the Zaku 1, it is the second wave of HGUC, so it's got a bit better parts economy, if that is the right way to describe it. Like, sure, it is still mostly made up of clamshells. The older style too, not the newer one where they separate them in clever planes to hide a lot of the seams. Not really doing it here, but at this point, Bandai have a better understanding of what makes it easier for people to do seamless mods and other things. And they are better at, the whole computer assist mold making by this point. So it is pretty much spot on for the Okawara design. At least before we can pretty much have it in a real-time render and make sure that at all angles it is looking as if it is designed by or drawn by Okawara. Anyways, you would notice the Zaku one does not have the pulse transmission cable running all around it like the Zaku 2, and that is on purpose. The Xeon High Command was very about the pulse transmission conduit exposure, would snack on things, would be vulnerable to enemy attacks, and other kind of little things, which they are right. As Xeon developed more powerful mobile suits to replace the Zaku, they are also doing away with the exposed transmission conduits. However, at the beginning or before the 1 year war started, Xeon does not have the means to make mobile suits more powerful without putting the pulse transmission cable outside of the mobile suits, namely for internal volume mostly. Now, a lot of literature would say the Zaku 1 are easily overheat because they don't have the exposed pulse transmission conduits, which is also correct, but later models have like giant heatsink fins, radiators all around, so you can have other means of cooling without the pulse transmission cable being exposed and sticking out everywhere. In case of Zaku 1, or from Zaku 1 to Zaku 2, it is mainly the internal volume. Then comes the trouble of lower thermal conductivity. Anyways, back to the kit. The head of Zaku 1 is actually pretty modern uh, in assembly. There is this one gap along the fin. This could be, I think this is antenna, not quite a cooling fin. And yeah, this is the only gap at the back of the head. This assembly line, it is actually part of the Zaku's head structure. And yeah, I could save this to Gimmick, but I mention it now. You can easily swap out the regular clown scope for the Team Leader Commander version with the blade antenna. So that is a neat feature. And the snout again on a natural assembly gap to be assembled. You may also notice there is this slot on the side of the shoulder. This is a feature, not a bug. Also kind of a gimmick. You can cover it with a flat plate, but we are not doing that because it is pretty secure once it is in there. Otherwise, yeah, just very simple front and back, and then the front plate is a separate color. This is what I mean by very good part economy. You don't have a lot of actual part separations, but they do once they are assembled together. The arms, pretty typical, clamshell shoulder, one piece bicep, and then ABS elbow joint, and then the forearm. You can see there is a assembly gap here, and there's one at the back, but it is not a simple two-side clamshell. Elbow guard and fan brace is actually separate from the forearm itself. This might look like excessive, but it is actually part of the articulations. So it is pretty clever. The advance we see in later HGUC models kind of came from here. Trigger finger for the gun holding hand. Skirt, pretty typical Zaku skirts. End of thigh, typical early HG side-by-side assembly. We do have a scope for the knee joint. Once again, not actually a separate part, but it is made to look like one. Knee pad is a separate single piece. That is nice. And then just simple left right again on the lower leg. The calf is pretty simple as well, left and right. Newer models might have a thicker line here to make it look like it is a natural separation, but then to the end of the trouser they might have to make continuous again. So I don't think this is too bad even for today. Back of the knee, you can see quite a bit of scopes. Not a lot of functional things here, just a lot of detailed scopes. Just that unfortunately they are also ABS, so making them seamless is kind of hard. That's probably also why Bandai don't do these on HG later on. The foot is very modern. Just a top half and a lower half clamped together with a very natural assembly seam. And of course, very good scope on the bottom of the feet. Backpack, practically one piece with separate nozzles. I don't know if you can see, but even in the nozzle recess we got a bit of sculpts here and there, also on the back as well. So, and yeah, it looks like they may or may not have plans for this backpack to be used with the Zakus, but in this case they do have a use on the right side, but we will get to that in Gimmick. So all in all, for a kit released in 2006, not quite 20 years, it is actually pretty good. Like when this kit was released, people was joking about how the Zaku one is better made than the Zaku, and probably for good reasons, because people who would grab the Zaku one is probably going to be more hardcore fans. I should have saved this for later, but yeah, it's kind of the style part. At any rate, even today, looking at this, aside from the pretty much historical left-right clamshell of the part separations, the Zaku one is looking pretty good. I I wouldn't say there are not better Zaku one or Zakus today, but putting this next to a modern Zaku, it is not out of place. In fact, the older look probably sold you better on the Zaku one being the Old Zaku better. So A for style. Next is action. Action isn't just the number of the articulations, but also how useful those articulations are. For the Zaku one, the neck is on the forever HGUC neck joint. Uh, the movement is really only limited by the snout and the shape of its own head. So it can look up a bit, but as you can see, that's quite a lot of gap underneath the head already. The shoulder, as you can see on this side, no shoulder pad, so a natural near 90-degree lift. And on this side, the shoulder pad actually have a lot of room to move out of the way, so also the near 90 degrees. In addition, we have probably the earliest example of a long extension of this butterfly shoulder joint. One of the reasons why the Zaku one is very well regarded even today. Yeah, so even Garibaldi Beta would have a run of his money from the Zaku one on this department. Actually, I should do it with the shoulder side. And then bicep swivel as usual. And then amazingly, we get double elbow joint. Not quite all the way 180, but that is quite a lot for such an early HGUC kit. On the Zaku one no less. This is another reason why the Zaku one is very well regarded in general. Is it canonical? Probably not, but it is nice. Hand is on a ball joint as usual. Torso, we got a bit of ab crunch. It is not a ball, but just a swivel. And then you got swivel from the waist as well. Can't really lean back, but quite a bit forward for the pose. Skirts, it is a earlier HGUC where they haven't adopted ball yet, and I feel like keeping this one like this to show you guys how they usually came in. The side skirt is on a swivel though, that is pegged in, so you've got a bit of play here and there. And then back skirt is static as usual, and then the thigh is on a ball joint, can't really go very far back, but can almost kick his own backpack. The foot, you can see there is a peg in there for the swivel for you to tilt the foot, and then there's a ball joint at the bottom of the foot so that you get quite a bit of range. Now that we are here, breakdance would be too easy. Let the Kung Fu fighting commence. Super easy, barely an inconvenient. When the Zaku I was released, it is actually being regarded as one of the most agile HGUC. Not quite literally, but more or less for how expressive everything is. The new is not perfect, but it is a lot closer compared to a lot of its HGUC peers. And the double elbow joint with the Y butterfly shoulder joint certainly helps a lot. Not super impressive by modern day standard, and because we do have other categories that we are going to shower the Zaku I with love, so I'm going to say action is just B for the Zaku I. This is a score compared to modern kit, not a score as it is to itself, its contemporaries, or low accuracy. Next is Gimmick. Gimmick are the onboard weapons, optional weapons, and other functionality of the mobile suit. For the Zaku I, we actually have been looking at the shoulder pads, and that's about it. The Zaku machine gun, the 105 variant, the older variant that we have here, with the pen magazine on the side instead of on the top. It is pretty much a Zaku machine gun, but more blocky. The optic can move, and the front grip can move. Now you can imagine with all the shoulder range of the Zaku I, it is super easy to put its hand on the front grips that also have plates on it. Having a movable front grip like this may not be very stable for a human, but for a robot where it is mostly using its firing arm to brace the gun, it is a good addition. And yeah, sticker. We have a pretty good sticker for the lens. And if you notice, I did not use the sticker for the mono eye. This is also kind of a gimmick. You can open up the top. Once again, use a germ sticker for the mono eye. And you can see the mono eye track can actually move. Let me use the blade antenna to move it. So yeah, pretty easy. There is actually a designated slot at the bottom of the head to manipulate the mono eye, but may as well show you the top mechanism. Talking about the top mechanism, this slot is for the bazooka stand, pretty much. It is powered. For some reason, it can flip up to provide room for Zaku I to move his arms, but it is not actually that obtuse. As you can see, it goes into the backpack slot quite nicely, and yeah, it just kind of flopping about. Well, it got some traction, but You can imagine in the real world, it can just follow the shoulder. So, but it is nice that Xeon engineer make it powered. So this is a addition for the Zaku one later, as it was found out that the bazooka is not great for the shoulder joint, as you would imagine. And yeah, we actually got a dedicated hand for the bazooka. So while it looks very loose when you just attach it, it is actually right there. The bazooka brace on the shoulder. So this is a great gimmick for the bazooka. And I know you have been eyeing this, the hit hook that can attach to the skirt. That's not all. It is not a one-piece hit hook that attached to the skirt, but a hit hook with a holster to the skirt. So we can give Zaku one a hit hook. The slight unfortunate thing is at this point in time they are still trying to figure out how to get the best balance between play, flexibility, posability, and stability with the hit hook. So it is kinda tricky to hold it in place for a pose. It's a hit hook that Zaku one can hold on the hand and on the side. Oh yeah, and the back skirt actually have a flap that you can put the bazooka on to carry it. That's not all. Zaku one, well, the Zaku one rolled out at the beginning with a regular single piece shield, but by the time of the 1-year war where Xeon have been making Zaku 2 shields, they modified the Zaku 2 shield for Zaku 1 to use. And before we put it on Zaku 1, we have color separation for the inner lining of the shield, with quite a lot of sculpt as well. And yeah, they add extra spike on the shield to compensate for the lack of spike on Zaku 1's shoulder. Although I would argue this is a better use of the spikes, as you can actually punch with it instead of leaning the whole body into it. And unfortunately we are using the two-piece hand here, so it is a bit loose at times because the shield handle can wedge out the fingers. But otherwise it is very good as a shield, and it can actually cover quite a lot of Zaku 1 in conjunction with the shoulder armor. So that is nice. And last but not least of Zaku 1's weapons is a Sturmpanzer or Panzer voice. It is what it is. Literally a rocket grenade for anti-armor, like any armor, anything with armor to be honest. And there is this hook to hold the Panzer voice. Oh yeah, and standard hammer grip hand for the right hand if you want to have right hand holding hit hook or shield, or Storm voice if you want to. And then a supporting left hand for the bazooka or other poses with the machine gun. So yeah, the Zaku one has, I would say, the gold standard of gimmicks. A lot of these war gears are only shown in different occasions one way or the other throughout different media or different episodes. I don't think they show the spike shield in the TV show. Anyways, with this one Zaku I, you can literally arm your entire squad of other Zakus. That is before we talk about the bazooka brace, the eye, and that's before we talk about an actual hit hawk holster instead of a simple peg for the hit hawk to attach to the side skirts. So yeah, Zaku I easily has the top ranking in Gimmick, even for today, as for Gimmick. Last and least for Zaku I is absence. Like, if I have to nitpick, I would say the sticker sheet is a bit minimalist. Unlike the later Stardust Memory or the Origin series, where they shower us with unit markings and force markings, etc., we only get those. And yeah, Federation have a lot of Federation symbols as well. Not so much on the Zaku I, but that is a very, very minor nitpick. Other nitpick may be included. The Zaku I is more expensive than the Zaku, slightly. Certainly more expensive than the Zugok. And the Zugok is a near perfect model. But that is because you are paying for all these goodies. So yeah, for absence, I can't find any absence in the Zaku I. I have to give it an S again. So the verdict for the HGUC 1-144 MS-05 Zaku I / Old Zaku is A for style, B for action, S for gimmick, and S for absence. Overall, probably still the best way to get a Zaku I today. Like, sure, Robot Tamashii have some very lovely, like the real type painted version of it. I don't remember if we got a Gundam Universe or other slightly cheaper version of action figures that's, is pre-built. And of course there is the Master Grey. But all of those are all of those are more expensive for one. And none of them have the forward compatibilities like the Zaku I. The peg on the side skirts, those are still the same skirts, same pegs. Oh yeah, sorry about this, the stand cover. The stand cover, it looks like, but yeah, it is a standard peg hole on a polycap for the bottom, which for the builder kits, they use this extensively for the older HGUC. So there are quite a bit of provision that allow the Zaku I, this older version, to use the new option parts. That's before we talk about how it just have more hands to begin with and have a better, at least upper body system, so that the new weapons would work naturally well with it. And that's before we talk about how the shield have extra picks, again, for extra options. So yeah, I think the HGUC Zaku I is still the best Zaku I around. There is the origin version, multiple the origin version as well. Those have better action for certain. Those have better forward compatibility with the option parts as well. Probably keep bash potential because it is the same system throughout the origin Zakus. But none of them is this simple, nice package with everything that you can just spread out around your gunpla. So, the HGUC Zaku I is probably the best Zaku you can get. Thanks for watching. See you next time.